Hey guys, it's Clovis, and today I'm going to do a tutorial for the Speedster Apricot Hill Time Trial, also known as the VX220 depending on what version of the game you're playing. So this is a pretty interesting first test because you're in a sports car, and Apricot Hill is honestly one of the more trickier circuits of all of them. So I kind of don't know why this is the first S-test, but it is doable. So we'll go through the lap a few times until we get the gold, then we'll watch the replay with the telemetry, and then we'll watch the replay with telemetry and commentary. So full throttle, again, knowing when to brake is important. It kind of wants you to go slow here, but you don't really have to until you're turning into this curb here. It'll be smooth on the throttle. I don't want to go too wide. And then smooth steering is important. And this is kind of blind here, but you do want to turn into this. And the tricky thing about those sections is it's very hard to tell. Like, there's no direct feedback if you've done it right or not. But you really don't need to brake. You don't need to coast or anything like that in those S-curves. You just need to steer at the right time. So that is a lot less stressful. And again, you want to use as much road as possible. So you can full steer. And then as you're going a bit wide, you can go straight there to gain a bit of speed. You don't have to stick to the left from the start there. It's better to use all the road. Again, use the environment to know when to brake. We'll slam it about the curb. And so coming up, obviously, is the hard part, the chicane coming up. Especially because you can't afford to touch the cones. That makes it a lot more difficult than taking it normally. But you want to approach it, first of all, by being on the right side where this curb is. Turn into the left. I coast a bit and brake to make sure I stick to this curb. And then now you can see where I'm positioned. It's far easier to do that because I'm all the way on the left. I'm wide, I'm far away from the cones. I have just way more of a direct line and I can see exactly what I'm doing. So the thing about the chicane is that if you approach it from the right side, not literally the right side, I mean the correct side, it is a lot easier to do. So we got the silver on the first try, missed by just over a tenth. So we'll do this again until we get the gold. So touch the brakes, stay on the left side. I don't want to be too much of the throttle there because I go a bit wide. So staying on the inside there, I actually do recommend. Now, if you're worried about being this far behind the car, you can restart. I'm just going to play it out because I think I can catch up to it. You can see I gained speed there because I used more road there and just did that smoother. Smoothness is the key to that corner. Brake a little bit earlier, so perhaps that we can turn in a bit earlier. Accelerate when you know you're going to make it. So that was pretty bad. So I see lost quite a bit of time there. So this gold is going to be very, very difficult now. But in every corner there is time to lose and time to gain, so... And look at that. So the exit speed on that chicane, you can carry it all the way through this main straight. And I'm at about a car's distance ahead. And I'm still... Hopefully I make this. I really hope that I make this gold so I can show you. Ooh, 15 milliseconds off. But that's okay. Again, if you're ever doing this and you start to get really, really close, I don't want you to get frustrated. Approach it this way. The closer you get, the more you know that you're capable of doing it. So I know it can be really frustrating to miss out by like a few milliseconds, but it should give you confidence, especially if you noticed parts of that previous ghost. I failed because I was too tight on the left. On the previous ghost, it was like ahead of me by a few car lengths for most of that. So if you string together the first half of that lap of that previous ghost with the the last half of the lap that we just did, we'd have the gold. So we know it's coming to us. Touching the sand there is very bad. Losing speed just means you will not get it back in a license test. And sand, I mean, you can kind of clip the grass, but sand is bad. Very, very bad. Sand is a run ruiner. Try to drive this smoothly out. You can go a bit wide there, you just don't want to go too wide and too obnoxious. Once your car is pointed to where you want to be, you counter steer to straighten the car up. And then you can just kind of go on a straight line and drag race it. See, I just clipped the sand there, so that car is catching up to me now, which is not what I want. And that was also pretty nasty. I almost touched the sand on the left there. Alright, cool. So, I'm not quite ahead. So this is going to be very difficult to beat, actually. Very, very difficult. Alright, too far, so this is gone. Yep. I pretty much destroyed that last corner in that run. So I want to be ahead of it before I get to that. Much better. Better to go straight than to touch the sand. That car is catching up on us because that was pretty good smooth on that run. So now, as long as we nail the chicane again, we will get the gold. I think it's going to be hard to beat, though. It was a pretty good chicane, I'll say that. Yeah, not good. Really, really tough, that chicane. Again, as I said, there's no point really getting frustrated. Like, it's just not going to help you. Basically, wait until your car is pointed in the exact direction you want it to be, and then straighten it up and full throttle in a straight line. Kind of slid out there, which is going to kill our exit speed, so that's really bad, actually. Sliding out like that, that's terrible. Pretty much just lost the run to that. Not really sure how I was supposed to beat this anymore, but maybe sticking on the outside and, yeah, taking this as smoothly as possible. And that's it. We should get the gold, you know, unless I, like, were to go on the grass or something here. This is the gold. So again, there's no point panicking. When you're getting very close, you know what you're doing well and not doing well. And it's kind of just up to you to get the run. And again, I feel like I could have saved more time than that, and I beat it by 3.5 tenths. So now we're going to watch the replay without any commentary, and then I'm going to go over the replay again and commentate it. Cool, so let's watch the replay again with some commentary, just to talk about what we're doing exactly. So you can turn left without having to brake. When you brake, you've got to make sure your car is straightened up before you slam the brakes. So you don't need to do precisely what I'm doing when it comes to throttle and braking. What I'm basically doing is I'm tapping to check if the car is comfortable turning that way, and then I'll commit to the full throttle and full turn once I know the car is going to make it. And this is something that's a bit more difficult, like you have to practice and get a feel for this sort of thing. But this is very important to get this early as correct as possible. In any of the full lap tests, it is just not possible to gold if you don't do the first corner well. At least well enough. And the exit speed is important here because you're going to carry that speed through the S's. Basically, that's just the turns coming up. Because you're not going to brake during the S's, you're just going to full throttle and turn. So getting through this smoothly and then out as fast as possible, that is going to be responsible for pretty much all of your speed up until the hairpin in the middle of the track, because you'll just be full throttling after this. So you can pay attention to what times I steer if that helps you out. But something else I want you to pay attention to is after you're steering in. So I'm going to steer to the right through this corner, obviously. But then once my car is pointed towards where it wants to go, I'm going to counter steer. I'm just going to flick the stick back to the left so that I'm going straight. There it is. You can see I just quickly flick to the left. And if you overcorrect it, then you can flick to the right again, which is what you're seeing on the current pause screen. And again, look at this. So it doesn't seem very important and it's kind of hard to visualize, which again, you need a bit of practice. But see, my car is pointed directly towards where it's safe to. That's the curb. I can skim over that curb. So instead of this being a turn, you can see the road is kind of curving to the right and to the left. You take a straight line through this. And this is actually very, very important for a lot of tracks. If you see a straight line through corners that you can take smoothly, that is the fastest possible way to do it. So wait until our car is pointed this way and we straighten up the car and we're just full throttle, basically going in a straight line through that. And then so here you notice you're on the right side and then you turn in smoothly. If you're on the left side, then you have to turn sharper and then you go through the section slower. So even though it looks like you're going slow by being on the right and then turning in and then being on the outside again, this is actually faster than staying on the inside the whole time, because then your turning is smoother And the less you're steering, then the more your car is moving forward, as opposed to, turning, obviously. I know it sounds dumb, but basically you want to use as much road as possible whenever you're doing turns like this to get the most out of that relationship between turning and accelerating. It's a mix, an equilibrium, I guess. And you can do this by, on the exit, you just steer less harshly. Like, once you see you're kind of trending towards turning in too sharply, you can kind of let go of the steering and then just tap it, or gently steer to the left. So again, tapping on the throttle here is just to kind of help my car get through this. Because if you coast at this lower speed, your car's just going to kind of stop. And then if your car goes at a really slow speed, then it's actually really hard to get off the ground without, spinning your tires and everything. So you end up losing a lot of time. And then also, as we turn to the right here, we're going to be using as much road as possible, or trying to. So again, you see where my car is pointed? It is basically pointed towards where I want to go. So it's like a straight line from the bottom to where I want to go, approximately, is this curb here. So that is why I counter steer to the left. So again, you don't want to hold left because then you start turning left, but if you flick to the left, you correct your car and line it up and straighten it up, basically. I straightened up a bit too early, so you can see I start turning to the right again. Again, this loses me time, but I still make the gold. So you can make slight mistakes when you're doing this in the execution. But what I think is actually the most important thing, and what most people are here for, is this section coming up. So again, you have to stick to this right part. Stick to the right, because then we're going to take a wide turn into the left in such a manner that we do it as smoothly as possible and exit on the very left. If we are not on the very left curb before we enter the chicane, we are forced to slow right down, and then we just won't make the gold. We have to slow down so much it's not even funny. So we stay on the left side, so we just have a wider approach and we can really see what we're doing. We just have a better way of turning in, and you'll see it's coming up. So you see I actually kind of brake early, and then so I'm throwing my car through, turning to the left, so that I can get back on the throttle and stay on the curb. So you see my car is kind of sliding to the left, I get full on throttle, and now I'm basically just managing my steering full throttle so that I stay on this curb while turning smoothly. And now, so you can see already, the approach we have. If our car was here, we have to just slam the brakes here and turn sharply and then go up there, and we lose so much time. Not only do we lose time through the chicane, but we lose time on the exit. If we approach her from this, see how my left tires are on the sand, on the grass, and you might think that's really bad, but again, grass in this game doesn't actually slow you down that much. And you don't actually fail unless all your tires are on the grass or sand. So you can see my right tires are on the curb here, and I'm kind of cutting the straight line here. And so you can see now, instead of our driving line going like this, it's like a straight line, and then we have a chance to flick the car through here. And as we flick the car through the chicane, we just need to flick it back to the left to make the turn. So watch this. So we flick the car to the right on the full throttle. And look, I'm already steering to the left, because if I hold full throttle here while my car's spinning towards the right, I am going to spin out. So I tap the left to straighten up. And now you can see why my car is pointed. This is exactly where you want your car to be pointed. You are turning this tough chicane into basically a small straight. That is what is so crucial about this. You're turning this from a chicane into a small turn, straight line, and then a small flick back to the left. So to exit this, again, you're holding the full throttle. You're going to flick the left or hold the left slightly before the curb. Slightly before the cones. And again, easier said than done, I know. This is how gold is. But you just want to get the timing right so that you turn in just touching the curb without touching the cones. If you leave it too late, you won't make it. You will actually go too wide on the grass, and then you will either fail or be forced to slow down to not fail. And if you slam the brakes here, it's over. Carrying as much speed through there, look at that. It is so important. And again, I'll bring up the mini-map here, just so you can see. This whole section, from after the chicane to here, if you exit this slowly, you will lose seconds versus if you exit this area fast. Because, again, when you exit this, you carry all of the speed that you have from the start until the end. So the most important part of any corner is the exit of it. The chicane, however, it's so tricky that in order to get a good exit, you need a good entry and a good middle section. And that's what makes this chicane so tough, especially with the cones there. It's very, very, very tough. And that is a tutorial for S1. So I hope this really, really, really helped. In general, I hope this helped you with the Apricot Hill chicane. If you learn how to do the chicane, this goes from being one of your least favorite tracks to one that you're actually pretty happy to do. It's a very tough track, lots of sand, but if you get the chicane down, you can nail this. So keep at it, take my advice in, and keep practicing until you get it. And I wish you good luck, and be patient with yourself. You'll get this. Oh, and quickly before I sign out, if you want to see any other tutorials on this game, please let me know in the comments. I'm just kind of rolling these out as I feel like I'm doing them, so if you want to see any specific ones, then I can maybe prioritize them for you.